from the Fox 5 studios. This is Silver State Sports Live.
It's a new week and a new win to celebrate as the Golden Knights take Game 1 of Round 1 against the Mammoth. Welcome into Silver State Sports Live. I'm Mike Davis.
And I'm Mariah Janos. It's also draft week for the Raiders, and it may just be the most important draft in the history of the franchise. We're discussing why. Plus, the Aces are back on the court. We'll hear from the rookies after day 2 of training camp. But as Mike just mentioned off the top, the Vegas Golden Knights have locked in the W. It came last night. Let's take a look. To the Fortress we go. Knights down 1 in the second period. Cole Smith with the backhand centers it, and Colton Sissons jams it home to tie it up at 1. Utah would get back in front entering the third frame.
Yes, Knights on the power play. Tomas Hertl with the net front presence. It's blocked. But the captain, Mark Stone, is there to bury the rebound. That's right, Mark Stone, now the owner of the most playoff goals in franchise history. We're tied at 2.
And just minutes later, it's a dogfight in the O-zone. Noah Hannafin fires, and Nick Dowd gets his stick on it in the high slot for the redirect to put Vegas in front for the first time all game.
Now under 2 minutes to go, Utah pulls the tendy, and Ivan Barbashev secures the empty netter from way out. The Knights take Game 1 with a final score of 4-2.
As a player coming into a new organization, you want to believe that you were brought here for a reason, right? And you know, whether or not that's playing 5 minutes or 20 minutes, you want to contribute. And you know, there's a little bit of pressure there, right? Like, I mean, you want to play your best hockey for an organization that cared enough to bring you in. So I think at any point throughout, you know, the last 20 games, the rest of this series, you know, that's the goal, is trying to contribute in a positive way. You know, but is it going to be a goal all the time? Probably not. But I think there's a lot of things that our line does and can do well to contribute.
I think we struggled with their speed in the first period and their checking. Second period, I thought we played better, climbed back into it, had a tough break on the second goal against us. Yeah, I mean, we've watched all the games. It's one thing's great about these late games, you get to watch the other ones. And it's all close checking. And I thought we checked well. I thought they checked well. You're hoping to make a big play. You're hoping a power play. We score a power play goal to help us. Those things are going to have to come into play because I think it's going to be a close checking, hard series right on through.
So, have the Golden Knights' goaltending woes been laid to rest? It sure seems like it. Check out these numbers. Carter Hart under John Tortorella, 7-0 record, 173 saves on 185 shots, which comes out to a .935 save percentage, 1.71 goals against average, and 3.67 goals saved above expected. Only took 76 games, but Vegas has finally got their number 1 between the pipes.
It's good timing, and especially good timing right now. Is joining us to break down this Game 1 win is Paul De Los Santos of NHL.com. So despite falling behind early, the Knights locked in for the final 2 periods. What impressed you most about the way they were able to get back on track in this one?
You know, it's funny because I want to say that most of their season has gone the way it has, which is they've been a very good third period team. And I think that's kind of what the big part is that they're always going to play well in the third period. Now it's a question if they're ahead or behind. And in this case, they're only behind 1 rather than maybe 2, maybe in 3 in some spots. But if they can stay within 1 or 2, I think the big thing here is that they're going to push, and they're going to push hard. And in this case, they pushed hard enough. And honestly, this didn't surprise me. As I was joking yesterday that, you know, if the Golden Knights are only down 1 entering maybe the third, like late in the third, I had a feeling this game could go either late or even, you know, their way, because they basically can control much of the game when it comes to the third period.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we just showed Carter Hart's numbers since being named the starter under Torts. Are you surprised by how solid he has been in net, especially with the narrative that's been maybe Carter Hart is kind of done?
You know, it's kind of weird because from a hockey perspective, and I think that's kind of where we have to stick with this is 100%, is that from a hockey perspective, you know, I think he can still remain. And also having 2 years off, there's a good and a bad thing to that. And I really do think that, you know, as a professional athlete, he did have the ability to refine some sort of rhythm. And I think that's kind of the big thing here was that he needed to find that rhythm again. And I think he did a good job here. And I think he's overall playing really well. And I think the confidence has come. And goalies are unique in a way that all it takes is one game to really get them going again. And I think in this case, he's had 7.
You know, Paul, we were talking before you hopped on here. You're a big esports guy as well. And I mean, this was a chippy one, this hockey game. It was almost like Tekken or Street Fighter. It's all the good stuff that you want to see in a playoff hockey game. 52 hits from the Knights, 30 from the Mammoth for a whopping 82 total. So is this the level of physicality, you know, Vegas needs to demonstrate in order to really win this series? Is this something they should be leaning into as the series continues?
I think for them, this is the kind of the big part that needs to be part of it. I think they came in with the intention to try and more or less, for lack of a better term, punch Utah in the face and welcome back to the playoffs. And I think this was a big portion because you see early on how much Ivan Barbashev was like having fun just running all over the place and hitting anything that was moving. And for me, it's like that playoff atmosphere that you're going to see that from an experienced team, they're going to be heavier. They're going to want to lean into being more physical and kind of disrupt a little bit of Utah's speed, because that's kind of a big deal here. Is Utah's speed is going to be one of the problems that the Golden Knights do have to overcome. And in this case, you know, the best way is to basically make them question if they want to run at someone full speed, knowing that they're probably going to take a hit of hard check. I mean.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned the speed there. That's something Torts has actually been able to unlock, moving to that north to south system, really unlocking Jack Eichel down the stretch here. What do you want to see out of him going forward? It was a more so quiet night from him, which is surprising to say with Jack Eichel.
I think Jack is one of those players who has different series of modes. I think he can turn it on when he's engaged, and he can impact games in multiple ways. I don't think he necessarily has to be a primary goal scorer, because if you think about the 1 year they won the Cup, he didn't really score a goal for quite a long time in the playoffs. I think he last scored probably against Edmonton and never scored again. But he was so impactful in that series and the next 2 series. So overall, I think Jack Eichel is just finding ways to kind of impact and help the team out in numerous different ways rather than just simply, you know, scoring. And I think that's kind of what it is. It's just like, you know, he's going to be there. He's going to have quiet nights, but I mean, he's going to do a lot of more subtler things, which is whether it's going to be, you know, basically getting entries in an offensive zone. Even that is going to be difficult at times. So I think Eichel has an overall value. It's just sometimes it's not going to be on a score sheet, and sometimes you might not see it because, you know, a lot of teams will prep for him.
Last thing here, Paul. So last night I thought it was kind of interesting. Stormy was reporting that Tortorella was finally using the word "we" to talk about how he's really, you know, he wanted to be respectful that this was Bruce Cassidy's team, and now finally he thinks when it comes playoff time, you really got to start using that word "we." Why is he the perfect coach for this team down, you know, in the playoffs in this stretch? Why could he really lead them on a Stanley Cup playoff run?
I want to say it's not necessarily, because I know what the idea was behind bringing him in. I think the big thing is that he is very much a coach who can get teams to fire away and kind of simplify to a degree. It's one of those things where I think when it comes to like hockey, in a sense that, you know, they tend to turn over coaches faster than most multiple sports, which, you know, is part of the kind of the situation here. But I think for Torts, in a sense that he's coming in and he doesn't want to use the word "we" because he only came in with 8 games left. It's kind of like almost disingenuous that he gets to ride the final, you know, run here. But I think he's the type of coach who, you know, understands like when is the time to insert himself into the story. I think for the first 7 games he was getting comfortable. I think that's what it is just understanding like how do they feel about me? And at the end of the day, they all viewed him very highly. And I think he's the right guy to kind of just like let them play loose and fast. And, you know, I think that's the big thing is that, you know, by saying "we," he's taking the accountability for when they win and lose. And I think he's simplifying things to a degree where it's like, just play. You know, we'll review the tape and, you know, don't grip your stick too tight. And I think it's just one of those places where Torts is kind of just more like you know, relaxing presence. I know it's kind of weird to say with John Tortorella, but I think it's kind of like the right presence at the moment where they can kind of just like play, and they'll worry about the details in review and in between periods.
Yeah, he was referring to himself as more of a guidance counselor, so that's certainly unlocked here. Paul, thank you so much. We appreciate your insight.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Great stuff, man.
All right, still to come on Silver State Sports Live, it's NFL Draft Week. All eyes are on the Las Vegas Raiders. We're discussing the importance of these 2026 selections next.
This week on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. Your Triple SEN lineup is sponsored by AAA Roadside Assistance. Visit AAA today.
You're watching Silver State Sports Live.
We are just 3 days out from the start of the 2026 NFL Draft. The Raiders with a whopping 10 picks this year.
And of course, the hype surrounds the #1 overall pick, which is expected to be Heisman winner and national champion quarterback Fernando Mendoza. But then the focus shifts to the other 9 selections, which are just as important this year. There seems to be a lot riding on the draft for the Raiders. Just how much is riding on it, though? Steve Cofield of ESPN Las Vegas gave his take on today's episode of Sin City Beat.
Because of the now, this is the most important draft in Raiders history. Yeah, they have to get this thing turned around. The NFL kind of makes them fan proof. They're always going to get people in the building, but they have to start making this into a real home environment. And here's the other thing. Competition's coming. So what would Bill Foley do is kind of the approach for every organization in town. I don't think VGK is going down. They have, listen, under the ownership umbrella, they've got the Aces. They're not going to like this, but the A's are coming, and I think the A's are going to be good. I think the NBA team will be more than representative out of the gates. So this is a town that will show up with home fans when you win. They need to start winning. This draft is vital, and it's got to make up for all those guys you just mentioned, all those botched drafts by John Gruden and Mayock and some of the regimes after. I mean, there's a lot of pressure. They got to nail a lot of these picks.
Yeah, Cofield adamant there. So piggybacking off of what he just said, Mariah, do you agree in this train of thought, this thinking that this is in fact the most important draft in Raiders franchise history?
Absolutely, and because of something that someone on that panel had said just last week, Levi Edwards, who works for the Raiders, I had asked him what the energy was like in Raiders headquarters leading up to the draft. I asked him if there was a sense of optimism because from the outside looking in, it sure feels that way. And he said yes, but we have to be cautiously optimistic because we've seen this organization get burned time and time again. This is just the second time holding the first overall pick, and the last time it happened, it didn't go very well with Jamarcus Russell. But obviously there are new guys in the fold, and there's a lot of confidence in Tom Brady, in John Spytek, in Clint Kubiak. So these guys know what they're doing, but they do have to be smart about these picks outside of that first overall pick. And Spytek has really talked about the sentiment of making sure they're getting high IQ football players that are passionate about the game. That is what they're taking into account with every single player that they select in the upcoming draft. So they do need to get this right, obviously, from a fan base perspective, but you're in a rebuild and you have all of the right other pieces in place. You got to draft right to complete the puzzle here. Yeah,
I mean, I think Spytek, the reason why I loved that decision to hire him is because he's coming from a talent scouting evaluator standpoint. I think a lot of the GMs we had before, clearly there was just so many missteps in terms of evaluating how a college level talent is going to translate to the NFL. And I think a lot of that just wasn't because of the attributes of these players. It was because of what comes above the shoulders. It was about the makeup, about their willingness to want to be great. That's why Jamarcus Russell didn't succeed. We've seen Clelin Ferrell, we've seen, Damon Arnett, Henry Ruggs, all these guys who had pretty good level traits, qualities, things that you could see popping off a screen. But the question became whether they really want to be professional NFL players, whether they want to be grown-ups and adults that actually take their craft seriously. So I think what we've seen now from Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty, these are high-level human beings, and now we're getting the ultimate human being in Fernando Mendoza. This guy, he's not promoting aloe yoga like Joe Burrow, he's promoting LinkedIn. And look at this guy, that level toughness. I mean, somebody endorsed him on LinkedIn for toughness right there.
No shade to aloe yoga, though.
I love myself some aloe, but it's okay for him to be authentically a kid who's going to come in with a lot of the intangibles. He's got the accuracy. He's got the Heisman Trophy Award. He's got the national championship, 16-0, only 6 interceptions throughout that whole season. I think at the end of the day, we got to start evaluating guys that are going to be adults that want to take this craft seriously. And I think when it comes to the first round pick in Mendoza, you're going to hit that. Now you got to hit the second round pick, 36 overall. You got to hit the third overall pick that you got in the third round. You got to start hitting on these picks and see what happens. But this is the biggest draft ever. If Mendoza hits alone, you already won. But if you can hit on that second and third round, then we're talking about some immediate success, and they're going to be competing for the playoffs and Super Bowl very quickly if you hit on those other two picks.
Yeah, there's a lot riding on this, as you mentioned, so we are all going to be locked in as the draft gets underway on Thursday. We'll have all the coverage right here on Silver State Sports Live and, of course, on Fox 5 as well.
All right, coming up, we're taking a look at the other teams. The other team, I should say, Mark Davis owns here in town, the Las Vegas Aces. Yeah, they're back to business. We're going to hear from the rookies after day 2 of training camp.
You're watching Silver State Sports Live.
Well, a 3-game homestand that was pretty rough for the A's this past weekend as the green and gold dropped the rubber match of their 3-game series Sunday versus the White Sox.
Yeah, and if you missed it, let's take it out to Sutter Health Park in Sacramento, where Jeffrey Springs is on the hill for the A's. He's been their best starting pitcher so far this year, but reality began to set in on Sunday, top of the second. White Sox already with a 2-run lead. Miguel Vargas takes Springs deep to left, 2-run jack. The A's trail 4-0.
Oh no, then we go to the top of the 5th. A's down 4-1, but the White Sox add the Japanese Babe Ruth to the mix. Look at this guy, Munetaka Murakami at the dish. He gets a hold of this one, just jumps on it like a California roll, you know, because they were playing in California. I don't know. I like California rolls.
I'm a spicy tuna gal myself.
All right, well, there was a lot of spice on that moonshot. 6-1. A bad day for Jeffrey Springs. 5 innings, 9 hits, 7 runs allowed.
Whew. The A's would fight back, scoring 3 in the bottom of the 7th, 2 of them coming on this Geloff double. But it wouldn't be enough. The A's dropped the series finale at home 7-4. Here's Mark Kotze on Springs' outing in the series overall.
Overall, it looked like the ball was just up in the zone. This is an aggressive, free-swinging team. And, I think today we just couldn't execute down below and get that, that chase that we need and get it off the barrel. So, like you said, this is the first one for Jeff. He's pitched really well. And, my expectation next time back out is he'll get back to form. Tough series. We talked about it, a young, aggressive team, free swinging team. And, overall, tough loss today. I did like that we got the tying run to the plate in the 9th inning. Down 6-1, we still continue to battle. We still continue to fight. All those signs are of a team that, obviously has an expectation to win games. And so, yeah, not a great series for us, but we'll turn the page, and now we've got a big series coming up, the end of a 16-game stretch for us. So, hopefully the energy up in Seattle is good.
Yeah, in that game in Seattle, you can watch it right here on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. First pitch is set for 6:30.
And the Aces are back to business. Training camp got underway on Sunday, where it was announced that guard Dana Evans will be out indefinitely rehabbing a left leg injury. Aside from that, less than ideal news right there. This is the first time we're seeing all of the new pieces of the organization that were acquired over the past few weeks come together on the floor, including the 2 rookies fresh off the draft, Janiah Barker and Jordan Obi. They spoke with the media earlier today.
This training camp still got to make the roster, with that mindset. But at the end of the day, ever since I got drafted, and I'm pretty sure about hers as well, they've been so happy for me to be here, for us to be here. You know what I'm saying? They've just been instilling a whole bunch of confidence and making sure that, that we know that they believe in our abilities. They just want us to get better. They want us to develop us, and they've been feeding a lot of good things into us. So, it's a blessing to be here, to be a rookie, and to be around these vets. I have the best vets I could ever have. I'm in the best position I could ever be in. Las Vegas is beautiful. These facilities are crazy. I couldn't be more thankful to be in the position I'm in right now.
I'm excited to see her get to work. She's going to be so good.
Also, imagine Asia Wilson being your vet. You get drafted. Asia's the one to look to. Doesn't get much better than that.
It's a good situation to come to. Excited for Obi and Barker. Now, we're going to get a chance to see how this roster does in a real game situation when they face the Japan national team this coming Sunday.
I don't think there will be any California rolls there. All right, finally on Silver State Sports Live, what a weekend for the highlight reel. We've got top plays coming your way.
You're watching Silver State Sports Live.
All right, so as we wrap up this Monday edition of Silver State Sports Live, we got to talk top plays from the weekend, Mariah.
Oh, yeah. Let's start with number 3. Bottom of the 7th in Sacramento, the A's down 6-4. Then this happens. The Big Amish goes yard, destroying the ball. A 2-run shot to tie up the game. A clutch bomb from Nick Kurtz that would ultimately set up for our number 2 play of the weekend.
Yep, number 2, bottom of the 11th in that same game, still tied at 6. Max Muncy comes to the plate with 1 out, and Jacob Wilson on third. Look at that. He lifts the ball to left field, and Jacob Wilson gets on his horse, sliding safely to give the A's a 7-6 victory.
And for number 1, we got to head to the Fortress. We're down 1-0 in Game 1. The Knights get on the board. We showed you this already. The nasty pass from Cole Smith on his backhand finds the stick of Colton Sissons to tie the game at 1 apiece. VGK go on to win 4-2. We got Game 2 tomorrow night.
That was great. And the only thing better than that pass is this.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, live at Las Vegas Ballpark. We're going to be there. I'm not going to wear that jacket, but I'll be wearing something lovely.
And we're going to eat hot dogs.
Yes.
Which is most important. Tune in.